All right, uh, I'm gonna do a do-yourself trailer wiring install. I've never done I personally I hate electrical stuff, so I've never done like an electrical install. I've installed like radios and LED lights on, fog lights or whatever. I've done that simple stuff, but this should be pretty simple. I'm gonna try to just do it kind of not quick, but simple, very simple. I mean, the wiring itself is pretty simple. The instructions for this kit are not the clearest. I mean, you get a piece of paper that says the diagram and kind of tells you what colors do what. So it's kind of perfect for a do-it-yourself. You kind of pick and choose where you want to run the wires, and that's kind of where it comes to personal preference and where you can add things. So I went and just bought some wire loom cover to protect the wires from rocks and just the elements. The big thing that usually plagues trailer wiring is ground. So I bought a big 12 volt or 12 gauge ground kit. It was like $9, kind of overkill, but it's got like a rubber seal that so you put it on exposed metal, exposed portion of the trailer, and it's just going to have a better ground for your wires. And also I bought some grommets because there are pre-existing holes where the original wiring ran through it, and over time that wire just kind of jiggles around inside that hole, and eventually you're just going to burn through the coating and cause a short, grounding issues, etc. So got some grommets. I probably only going to use maybe 2 or 3 of those. And I forget what else I bought. I think that was it. I'm going to be using these little cable clamp and some self tappers to kind of hold it to the side of the frame of the trailer wherever I need it. This is what I'm going to have to plan out. I'm probably going to plan it out off camera, kind of lay out the wire, unravel this, lay it out where I need, figure out the length I need for like up at the tongue area so I can attach it to my car or any vehicle. And then mounting the lights is going to be simple. I will say these little front side marker lights, they kind of came set up like this, and for my application I didn't want to drill holes through my rails, so I just notched the bottoms out, and I'm going to run the wires like this. I'm probably going to reseal these with silicone. They're kind of like half-ass sealed, so I'm going to reseal these. Hopefully no water gets in them. They didn't come with like a gasket around it, so the only gasket I kind of got is for the for these, and it really does nothing. You can kind of see how like crappy the seal is. That's not even silicone. I think that's just hot glue, and it's kind of not sealed good. So I'm going to redo some of this with some silicone. But I tested the lights. They're bright. I mean, it was like $23 or $24 for the kit off of Amazon. So I mean, if I get a year out of it, I'm sure eventually me hauling something for someone, it's going to pay for itself the first time I go to use the trailer. So $24. If I get a year or a couple years out of it, great. I'll just order another one when something breaks and then just keep replacing components. My thing is I do not want to replace the wiring. So I want to protect the wiring harness as much as possible and make it so I'm not going to get any grounding faults. So big long introduction. I'm going to start getting the wiring laid out and kind of just locking some stuff up, and then probably crawl underneath. I'm going to try to do this as like anyone else would do this in their house. I'm not going to flip the trailer upside down. I'm not going to put on a lift. It's currently sitting on jack stands. The tires are off, and there's no existing wiring. So if you bought a trailer with no existing wiring, or you just ripped the wiring out, you're starting fresh like me. So get cracking. All right. I should mention this is a 5x8. I think it's 5x8. Yeah, I think it's 5x8. So I have my plug here. a lot of extra wire, which I'm going to show here soon. So I'm kind of just seeing what reaches for my car. I'm going to find a spot for this ground. The original ground was like right here, which, so this does have like your ground wire attached to it, but I don't know. I guess it worked before, so I might try something different. I may not need this. I thought I did. I kind of wanted to incorporate it, make it just a better ground. But this plug that they give you, it's not like serviceable, so you can't really knock this out and upgrade the ground. That's kind of what I was hoping to do. I could clip this and solder this in, which I might do that. But this is what I was... This is not how it's going. This is just so I can get my length of wire. So I have my wires running down my passenger side, and I have my wires running down my driver's side. So my front marker lights are going to be in here somewhere, hoping like right in the middle. And then I have enough wire to hit my tail lights, which will be here. So these tail lights give you long enough pigtails, and I can hit my wire harness from there, and then that leaves me with over 6 feet of wire with this kit. And again, this is a 5x8 trailer, so that's good. I have plenty of wire where I can route it underneath. And this is just like a rough layout of where I was going to have it run. So one side's going to go down one rail, and then the other side's going to go down the other rails. So now I just got to kind of put this kind of together and see how it looks, and if it makes sense, kind of start making it permanent. All right, I'm kind of explaining what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to snip this ground. I'm going to snip this ground. I already cut the little like self-soldered attachment. I don't like those. I'm going to actually solder it myself. Solder. I'm going to solder it myself. So I will have this wire, which is a little thicker. Granted, there's going to be this little junction of thin stuff. I wish I was able to get in here and somehow, you know, actually solder that connection right to that, but I can't right to that. So this is my only option. So it's probably going to be like right here, and that still gives me plenty of length. And this is just I like this connection better. So it's going to be more surface once I grind the spot flat wherever I decide to put this. It's probably going to be close to here. I might even weld this hole up and then just drill it back here. That way it's kind of in the original spot. So yeah, I'm going to snip this, tin my wire, and solder it together, and heat shrink it and all that, so it should look kind of nice. Alright, I am not a professional solderer or solderer, or whatever you want to call it, but I have an idea, and I'm going to try it anyway. So, ooh, I got some junk on my tip. Tin my tip. Come on. I got a little stray. But I do know you want the solder to flow into the wire so you don't have a cold joint. And I think I got it. So that is that end. I have to do this end. So we'll get rid of that. I'll set this somewhere. This is not a how-to solder video, but take it for what it is. And tin my tip. And it should start to flow in there. There it goes. Okay, so that is pretty good. My sponge is not cooperating. Alright, so that's tinned. I need to put a little piece of heat shrink on there, and then I can join the two wires together and make a good permanent solder joint. Alright, got a little piece of heat shrink on here. I'm gonna hopefully solder these two together and hopefully have enough room to slide this over and cover that connection up. I should have my little holds the wire for me, but I'm gonna have to kind of set something up here to hold the wire. All right, let's see what we can do. Tin this tip a little bit and hopefully get this on here straight, and I should just be able to touch it and flow it into itself or together. And there it goes, and hopefully that's what I was afraid of. Okay, pretty good joint, not the best, and that's probably where my weak point for the ground system will be. Alright, quick blast with a little torch. That's my new ground wire system for it. So I'm going to attach that now. Alright, so I am going to clean this up. I'm going to clean this up and I'm going to weld this hole shut because I'm going to move this grounding portion in a different spot. Obviously I'm not using this correctly, but I don't care. Do it at your own risk. Okay, took me a minute, but I got it. Alright, so I don't know, I was having trouble just, again, grounding issues. It's a bad thing about trailers, and they got 50 layers of paint on it, and pain in the ass. Alright, so that's filled up. I'm gonna grind that a little flat, and I'm gonna grind off. I'm probably gonna put that ground just right here, right on top. I thought about maybe doing it on the side, but I'm afraid water can creep in that seal. I guess either way, it could creep in the seal from the side, creep in the seal from the top. But maybe I'm overthinking it. But I like to be able to see it, so it's gonna go on top. So I'm gonna grind a little spot for that. And again, I'm using this wrong. Alright, so I got done a bare metal. That's my so that they give you a big self tapper, some dielectric grease. That's gonna just squish right down onto that. So it'll be like a face like that, and I should have no grounding issues as long as I can get good as long as the wire and grounding through the frame of the trailer stays consistent. Alright, here's the components to this grounding upgrade system. So you got your big 3/8 self tapper. That goes through there. This is key, don't forget this. This is what's gonna really drive into the metal, and then this washer that's built into here. And then you got your dielectric grease, which will coat in there. That'll keep moisture at bay and should have no grounding issues. So do that. Rip this open somewhere. Maybe. It says apply generously. So that's good. Save that. Flip this over to where I want it. Kind of blocking the camera. And I should just be able to. Okay. Maybe give it a little. All right, so now I can paint over this more. And this that gives me plenty of room for my harness, or to the car. So we're okay. I like that. That's just one step out of the way. Now we can start with the rest of the wiring and getting underneath the trailer. All right, so I added the wire loom protector stuff. Kind of got that on there. Kind of got this little, so that's where my ground comes out. And then step over this. Wire continues to run down through here, and I made it loose just so I can remove this if I have to. And then it continues on traveling down. And I got to get more of those little clamp things, or somehow make those, which I might have some plastic. I could probably make those. So now I just got to split the wires, so they're going to run underneath this rail back here. This rail. So one's going to go this way, one's going to go that way. Because this is a tilt trailer, I have to allow myself some slack. So I got to make sure I don't screw this up, and when it tilts it, I mean, this is the pivot point here, so this should all stay stationary, so I should be fine. And that's how it was before. So there's the original. I think that was like another ground portion for something, or I don't know. There was something there. I don't even remember. And then there's a hole which they ran wires through, and that's probably why I bought the grommets. So eventually this wire loom stuff might end, and then I'll just kind of put a grommet in there, run the not bare wire, but run the wire through without the wire loom, and then continue the wire loom again. That's kind of how I have it in my head. If it looks like crap, I'm probably not going to do it. But I also don't want to just... I thought about just doing that, and then just splitting it. Maybe buying like one of these little... They used to sell this stuff in like T-junctions. But, I mean, I can make my own. So, I don't know. I mean... That wouldn't look terrible, but it would also save me from using those grommets, and I can return them. So I have options, and that's what this video is for, is like I'm doing this as I go. Like I don't have a plan, I'm kind of just winging it and what I think looks right. So I just mocked up this, it would be the passenger side light, and I'm using the little foam insert, or that little foam gasket, and there's a little channel on the back of that tail light for the wires to go through, and just trying to get an idea of like where stuff's going to go. So that's probably going to go down around like that somewhere and kind of tuck under. I might drill a hole, I don't know, maybe it's overkill. I'm just trying to think of, like, granted this is going to be covered with wire loom, so I'm trying to think of where the wire is going to rub, and it's going to be protected in the wire loom, but I do not want it to move. So it's probably going to get wrapped in wire loom, wrapped under, and then probably go along this rail here. So there was already some existing holes. I mean, I could probably shoot it under here and just kind of continue it through the hole and then let it run along that rail. But I did add these washers. It came with these nuts, but I added these washers. I'm probably going to red Loctite those just because I don't want them to vibrate loose. The previous holes were maybe a little too big for these nuts, and I just didn't want them to like pull through or just put too much pressure on those little studs. And I have no clue how tight you can make this. It doesn't give you any torque specs, or I mean, it's just a cheap plastic housing. I'm sure if you crank them down, you're gonna snap that housing or pull it through. So I'm gonna put some red Loctite and just snug them up. All right, so looking at the front of this, I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to bring it down through here, and my new wiring will come through here, and then we'll make our connection here. This will be covered in plastic wire loom. I'll probably put a grommet through there. I don't want to drill that out. I probably could, but I kind of don't want to mess with this frame and just leave it the way it was. But I'm going to start running the wiring harness, kind of lay it out and see what looks good. Put them on with the marker lights. I measured for them. I'm going to kind of go with right here. Wires will go down and then they'll quickly disappear. I just need to kind of center it best I can. Where I want it. Kind of mark where I'm going to drill. And I can move it. Finish drilling. Okay. Make sure my wires are centered. And I'm going to take this all back off, and like I said, I'm going to re-silicone all this. I just want to get this done so I kind of know if it's going to work the way I want it to. Okay, I'm going to tighten this up and see what it looks like. Ooh. Okay, so I've been wiring away. This is how I have this side marker currently set up. I actually pinched the wire loom so it holds it in there very nicely, and it runs down under. This is just kind of temporarily. I got a grommet through here, and then basically my power wire is through there, and then it is grounded right here. So it kind of splits out, so it's pretty well protected. I'll probably put some paint over that to keep that protected so it doesn't rust. Eventually, these always go bad. They corrode and they get weak and they become brittle and break off, but I'm just trying my best to try to prevent that. And swinging over to the back side of that. So here's where it comes in. I have yet to do the driver's side. I did add my own ground strap since this is tilting, like I mentioned before. I just wanted another form of ground. So you got that main ground on the tongue, you got another ground, it's a cable, it's welded to washers, and then it's all ground. The frame is all ground off, and then you have a nice connection, and it still allows me to tilt and not affect anything. Again, I am trying to prevent grounds from going bad. So here's the grommet, the wire coming through, and then it's gonna go on its journey. Focus. I was surprised the wire loom actually fit through the existing holes. So it's continuing on through, and now I'm working on the taillight. Alright, so right now I'm wiring up for the taillights. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna run this wire loom. There's the wire, it's probably hard to see, but the trailer wire from the harness is coming right here. The ground, I'm going to solder up a little ground. Well, where's it at? It's actually in my little holder for the soldering iron. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder, focus. I'm going to solder this onto here, and I already cleaned the area of the frame off, so it's bare metal. I'm going to run a self-tapper through it. That's my ground. I was originally going to go like ground the whole system with just wire, but I already hooked this up to vehicle, and even just touching this wire onto the spots of the trailer that I have ground off, it fired the lights right up, and everything worked. So I think I changed my original plan of how I was going to do this, which I thought I was going to anyway. So this is now how I'm doing it. I think my couple minutes back, I extended the ground wire. I was going to run it through the frame, and I quickly just did not do that. And I just, each light's going to be individually grounded right to the trailer frame, which I think that's how most people do it, and it's pretty easy. Alright, so I'm going to solder on this little connector, and then solder the wires to the wiring harness, and then we'll tuck it all in the wire loom. I'm going to loosen the light, pinch this wire loom in here so it makes it a nice clean. You're not going to see the color of the wires hanging. That's what I'm really going for, is I want this to be super clean. Alright, I got this little blob of solder in there. These wires actually came pre-tinned, but I'm going to hopefully heat this up enough to drop it in that solder. Alright, I think I gotta use 2 hands or something. Alright, we're gonna try this again. Got my little handy hand, or whatever the heck these things were called. Tin my tip. And hopefully I can melt this at the same time, drop it in there. Come on. There it goes. Alright, so that's a good connection. Good. That is a good connection. And this is going to fall. Alright. So that is tin. That's my ground. I put a little piece of heat shrink. I'll slide it up here and heat it up, connect it. Now I'm going to do the other wires. Alright, I'm going to try to set my phone upside down. Hopefully it still records. And then kind of show the process of soldering this up. Okay, that's one. Get the heat shrink for the other. Sometimes you have to kind of, oop, there goes my heat shrink. This is actually very difficult. Okay, we got that one. Slide that down. then I could just blast it, hopefully not melt it. Okay, all those are connected. I can put my ground. All right, let's just do this. All right, those are connected. I'm gonna put my ground right here with a self tapper, and then tuck the wire in the loom. Okay, that's all. That light is wired up, nice and clean. Good ground. And that light should hit my plate. And that's what I was saying, I'll like pinch that in there. It doesn't look great, but I mean, it shouldn't hurt anything. It might even close up. I just kind of loosely snugged up them nuts on there, so it should close that gap a little bit. I might even run a bead of black silicone over here just to kind of hide it. But all right, driver's side is done. It's all wired up. Got maybe a couple things I might try to like hang up the line just so, I mean, it shouldn't snag anything, but I'd like to kind of get it out of view. I kind of don't like how you see it, so I got to get some little holders to put it up, and I'll probably just run them straight into the boards. Okay, the lights are wired up. There's my, I actually did end up extending this. It was a little too short. It connected, but not for my liking. So again, you got the big heavy ground. I extended it all. It works good. And hopefully I can get under here and kind of show what I did. So here's my extra ground. Yeah, it's probably grounding through the bolt, pivot bolt, but I have a ground there. Grommets, just a zip tie right now. I got to get some self tappers, but you can see the lines running down. I got some, screwed in little clamps to hold the wires up. Same as on the passenger side. There's the wiring for the passenger side. So the only wire that's going through to the lights for the passenger side is the power, and then they're grounded right there. So I wanted to have a little movement as possible, so over time that won't break. So it's pretty stiff. I might add another clamp or something there to keep it from wiggling around, but the lights are bright. I mean, this is daytime. They're pretty bright. And then we have our back. Got your side markers. So you can see how I did the wiring for back here. Nice and clean. Nice clean ground. Going through. The kit does not come with these big washers. I added these. Just these holes were a little big, and I put thread lock on those so they don't vibrate loose. And I probably gonna put like black Permatex or RTV or whatever, some type of silicone just here, just kind of blend it in. And with that wire loom, I didn't want it to move, so I just squished it in between there, and that holds it in place. And then this just keeps the ground from like kind of popping out, ground wire. So that is basically it. I'll set the camera down and run the blinkers and the brakes. I mean, I think we all know how turn signals work, but this will give you an idea of the brightness. So overall, I'm happy with the light kit. I've taken on a drive already, and I mean, didn't get pulled over for it. So they're very bright at night. I probably get a video of them at night just to kind of show the brightness at night. But for $24, the kit's not bad. The directions are basically non-existent, so you kind of have to just, you got plenty of wire. It's just making everything fit and work. But the harness itself seems okay. Time will tell. I mean, this might last 3 months, it might last 15 years. So who knows how long these lights will last. But that's pretty much it for this wiring do-it-yourself trailer light kit from Amazon. That was $23 or $24 or whatever it was.